The sanctified and blessed Father Ioannis Kalaidis of Neochurio, Camaroto says, in Macedonia, who fell asleep on 4/8/2009 AD, had spoken prophetically about the Easter that will fall on May the 5th, the city and the war that will take place then, when they attempt to give us the new anti-Christian IDs, which they initially started as innocent electronic IDs in the fall of 2023, and are now preparing to turn them into the total citizen card, linking them to a new unique number, with which every man will be identified, according to international plans, so that he is absolutely controlled. Without this new number, he will neither be able to deal with the state, nor be hospitalized, nor receive social benefits, nor sell and buy, as the apocalypse expressly warns. Father John's prophecies are now gaining even more value, as war has flared up in the Middle East as well, after the attack with hundreds of Iranian drones and missiles against Israel, which is only one factor preventing a massive, harsh attack against Iran and its nuclear facilities. The Erdogan factor. This Islamist is an ally of Iran and an opponent of Israel at the same time. Prophet Father John Kalaidis for Easter, Identities, in City. In the year when Easter falls on May the 5th, the events for the city will begin, Father John had said. And this year, in 2024, Easter does indeed fall on May the 5th, and on another occasion, he suddenly said, "My children, I am leaving, but I am very happy, because the good God heard not me, the last one who wished for this matter, but many prayed for this matter, and God gave mercy!" Quote, no. That when the time comes for them to give the ID, don't rush to get it. God will intervene. The events of the city will take place, and together with Greece. Because for Greece this grace will be done by God. Other people will be saved who were ready to take this identity, and millions of innocent souls will be lost. Revealed. What Turkey is preparing right now. Indeed, as we reveal at this moment, Erdogan and Turkey, in complete arrogance, are preparing two shocking moves against Hellenism. 1. The first is the unsatisfying annexation of occupied Cyprus to Turkey. In other words, the provocative incorporation of the pseudocracy into the Turkish territory, with the aim of forming a state, will now invoke a new ease, and declare it immediately, changing everything in the Eastern Mediterranean. This move by Erdogan has 2 or 3 candidate dates. May 29, fall of Constantinople, or July 20 most likely, Turkish invasion of Cyprus, or August 30, day of victory against the Greeks in 1922. 2. Naval blockade of the Greek islands of the Deccanese by the Turkish war fleet, most likely the Rho, Megistus, and Strongylus complex, in order to blackmail Mother Greece not to move towards Cyprus, to frustrate at the same time the point of union of the eases of Greece and Cyprus, to cause fear and flight of the Greek residents to mainland Greece, while at the same time hurting the main economic artery of Greece and Cyprus, i.e. tourism. In the first case, Hellenism has prepared to react by activating America, which, however, will be in a pre-election and divisive period, and France, which will rush in with an aircraft carrier and a squadron of the war fleet, while Russia is also expected to react for its own reasons. In the second case, it has been decided to immediately sink the Turkish ships by Greek and French submarines, intentionally without a declaration of war yet. This fierce Greek response, with the massive sinking of Turkish warships, will lead to huge turmoil in Turkey. It will be seen as Erdogan's sole responsibility and failure, and the Sultan will be overthrown or violently exterminated within hours by the Kemals, who will take over. They will proceed with conscription, declaration of war, and direct invasion of 2 Greek islands, which Greece knows about from officers who requested asylum. Right here, we have set the second trap. Russia will interfere against Turkey. However, a change of regime in Turkey, such as Kemalist, is automatically pro-NATO and pro-American and therefore anti-Russian, with all that this implies for the future. Thus, under the pretext of war with Greece, the pro-American Turkey at the time will close the straits to all Russian ships, and will receive, by NATO order, an aggressive deployment of its armed forces in the Black Sea, angering Moscow, which it will consider a unique opportunity for the war involvement of Greece and Turkey, to invade Turkey from 2 fronts with all its power. Through the Black Sea and by land through Georgia, finally paralyzing the Turkish war machine. The reason for the Russian invasion, apart from the NATO closing of the straits, and the Turkish invasion of the Aegean Islands, which will mean a complete naval blockade of Russia, may also be considered the imminent murderous attack against our ecumenical patriarch Bartholomew, which the saintly Gerontis of Galatia saw and prayed that God would not allow it. The direct invasion of the Kennelists on 2 Greek islands, which we know and expect, will then be used by Athens for an official declaration of war against Turkey, so that internationally and with absolute justification, we can claim and succeed post-war the return of Constantinople and the Straits to Hellas. The Russians will then invoke the protection of the Christian populations and the famine and march towards the city, just to catch up with the Greek army, which will be preparing to cross the Evros to advance towards Hagia Sophia. However, the Russians might then have activated Bulgaria as well, if they overthrew the pro-Westerners who govern it to prevent us, so that the Russian army could finally enter Constantinople first. Such a thing, however, would decisively tilt the tide of the West in favor of Greece, just once again, so that a queen does not remain in the hands of the Russians this time. The question is, how will Russia then hit Kemalist Turkey? Will the NATO Defense Pact have a direct military aid? The answer is again given by Father John Kalaidis, who predicts that there will then be a great destruction of America, and so he won't be able to intervene and help the Turks for a long time. Father Ioannis, there will be a great disaster in America. Father Ioannis Kalaidis has emphasized many times that before we take the city, America will suffer a very big disaster, which explains why Russia will invade Turkey undisturbed by NATO, literally sweeping it until it reaches outside Jerusalem, and even as far as Mount Tabor, as revealed by Saint Philomenos. There are in fact 3 relevant testimonies as recorded in the book Father John Kalaidis, 1925-2009, Society of Alexandroupolis. Testimony 1. In 2004, during 2 visits we made to Father John, he told us about Constantinople. He told us that when he visited the Holy Father Paisios in the monastery of Sauroti, the latter said to him, "Father John, the time is approaching when we will take Constantinople." The grandfather, Father Ioannis, told us, "The Russians will take the city and give it to us because they think it is to their advantage. Great evil will come to America. Then the Europeans will consent to having the city given to us by the Russians. Before this great evil comes to America, the Europeans will not consent." Testimony of Miltiades Sismetsis, Epiphydikou, page 86, Testimony 2. Just before going to sleep, he told us that the years related to Constantinople are very close, and that I will leave for the heavenly homeland, but you will catch up, and you will live them. He also stated that America will suffer a great geological biological disaster for the disasters they have caused, and the unjust death of so many innocent people. Testimony of Anastas Mavrokefalos, page 120. Testimony 3. During one of our visits to the grandfather, Father Ioannis, without asking him, he suddenly told us, "The time has come to take back Constantinople, it will become Greek again." When I asked him when this would happen, he replied, "Soon, very soon these days." I asked him again, "So when? Give us a date." Then his answer was, all dates no. This is God's plan, but there are no dates. He also told us that first something would happen that would bring America to its knees. It will cease to be a superpower. Russia will be a superpower, and then the events will happen. He also told us, "All of you who are here, we were 9 people of various ages, will go to the city, and it will be Greek, but I will not make it. I will have left for heaven." Testimony of App. Simiglu, Alexandropoli, pages 141-142. There are other prophecies about America's impending doom. The San Andreas seismic fault in California. At the time these lines are being written, American publications are expressing fears of an imminent seismic outbreak in the well-known San Andreas Fault in California, which in 1906 had produced 7.8 Richter, according to others 8.3 Richter, leveling San Francisco, while in the same area also dominates the flagship of America's cinematic and artistic glamour, a trillion-dollar industry that projects internationally standards, fashions, and morals, usually completely foreign or contrary to Christianity. Los Angeles, while just 650 kilometers to its right and behind, stands the famous monastery of St. Anthony of Arizona, which was built as a bastion of orthodoxy and protection of the pious in America by the sanctified elder Ephraim himself, plus 812-2019 AD. Thanks to this monastery and the tomb of the elder saint, the destruction, if it finally happens there, will not be allowed to proceed further. And it won't obviously be a simple earthquake disaster then, but there is concern that entire cities in the Pacific and Gulf of California will be submerged. A huge biblical disaster that will stop the power and breath of the USA. Then obviously, in such a vacuum, Russia will be able to act, reaching as far as Israel, wanting, among other things, in addition to our ecumenical Patriarchate of Constantinople, to take the Greek Orthodox Patriarchate of Jerusalem with the Holy Land, as well as all of Israel and Palestine. Pope and Israel call for world war against Russia. The Pope and Israel will then make an international appeal to NATO to intervene against Russia, as it will be done with all countries now attacking the bear from everywhere and at the same time. Even Japan will fall on the bear's back, unable to keep so many fronts open, and begin to retreat, while nukes will destroy the big cities of the opponents. Russia, however, will have made sure to keep the Islamists as its allies, while it will claim to the Turks that it entered to overthrow the atheist Kemalites, and will once again give the government of Turkey to Erdogan's Islam. Islamists, making them loyal allies who will fight with him against NATO and the USA. That is why Constantinople will then be mercilessly hit by the Westerners, with the result that not even a Turk will remain there. Constantinople in Greece. Athens, by order of the Holy Elders, will be kept away from the foolish World War III, which will neutralize the great powers and Islam, and will despair humanity, once again highlighting the peaceful Orthodox Greece as a new global power of creation and humanity, when Constantinople will be officially assigned to her, once and for all. Our authentic orthodoxy will then spread everywhere, with people longing for its peace and love, its brotherhood, and the divine assurance it provides. And the Greek language will again become famous and sought after as the only one that can express with the greatest possible perfection the divine meanings in the gospel. Antichrist. There will be peace, prosperity, joy and peace for several years throughout the earth. Until then, the Antichrist will come to once again spoil the godly happiness of people, and deceive the world, saying that he is Christ, and making false and miraculous miracles by imagination, while his deformed and hideous demons will be presented by him as aliens, who allegedly came with him to earth. Because that is exactly what the fairy tale of the alleged aliens is intended for, so that humanity will accept them as something expected and normal. But first, at the last moment of the swearing in, he will be captured by a patriarch in Jerusalem, and immediately after by the Jews themselves, whom he will have to exterminate immediately, so that they do not reveal that he is not the Messiah after all, but the Antichrist devil. Then the universe, the creation of the true Christ, will rebel against the lie and the liar. The sun will be darkened, the sea will be polluted, and everything will abhor his Antichrist kingdom, while the earth will refuse to produce fruit, and a great famine will fall on the world, which the Antichrist will take advantage of to seal people with a seal of perdition, 666, in order to take them with him to hell out of hatred for the creations of the triune God. In the end, however, the real Christ will intervene, and his second coming will take place at midday, followed by the resurrection of all humans from Adam and the judgment. And blessed are the believers of Christ, the Virgin Mary, and the saints, and also the righteous before Christ and virtuous, like our ancestors, the ancient Greeks, who will inherit the kingdom of heaven, the incomparable paradise, the eternal sweet life that will never set, living in eternal youth and joy. Conclusion. So the conclusion is to listen to the prophetic advice of blessed Father John Kalaidis about the new electronic identities, which they will suddenly turn into a citizen's card with a unique number, so that no one can buy or sell without them, leading to a totalitarian, tyrannical, inhumane, and ultimately antichrist government over mankind. Because there are many antichrists and antichrist systems, until the last and worst antichrist comes. But so that the world does not perish now, prematurely, in the midst of the unprecedented disrespect and immorality of Sodom and Gomorrah, Christ will allow war, so that rampant and unbridled sin can stop, humanity can finally be reborn, and righteousness can spread faith. Orthodox Christianity, throughout the confused world, giving everywhere saints and saints who will resist and save many people in the years of the last Antichrist. Let us hold fast to orthodoxy, Christ, the Virgin Mary, Mount Athos, and our saints, which are small Greece, northern Epirus, minor Asia, and Cyprus, have been producing for centuries to the glory of God. Easter is this year on May the 5th. Let's get ready. Christ is risen, and Greece will be resurrected. Special thanks to www.noazami.gr, who is the source of this information. This English translation and edit of the video was done by The Holy Wisdom. This video was created by The Holy Wisdom YouTube channel.